YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And today I got my quarterback rankings for the 2021 NFL Draft. We got about 2 weeks to go to the NFL Draft. This is the first prospect rankings video. We'll go through running backs, receivers, tight ends, offensive line, then on to the defense in that order. I'll have the top 50 big board come out. So we got a lot of good content to get to before the NFL Draft. If you want all these prospect rankings in kind of a guide format, sign up for our Patreon. You'll find the link in the comments and description for that. Please subscribe to us for all that great content. Would be much appreciated. Follow our Twitter for a fan-voted NFL mock draft, and always talking football, talking live during the NFL Draft, my thoughts on every single pick. And then check out walkthemock.com. Use code GOATHOUSE if you're going to sign up. Anything you're looking for that, any link you're looking for, pin in the comments, and it'll be in the description as well. Here's our Twitter. Again, we have a fan-voted mock draft going on right now. We're on to the 18th pick. I'll make a reaction video reacting to your guys' picks here. So at GoatHouse NFL, again, link down below. Make sure you follow us. Very important. Quarterback rankings first. Let's start with the superlatives here. Most accurate. I gave it to Justin Fields, and I don't think enough people are talking about this, how accurate he was. And you look at the percentages. I'm not a big stats guy. You guys know that. But a very important stat for quarterback is completion percentage. You know, I look at the specifics too and what range of the field. I think that's pretty important. And why I say that's a stat that I take seriously is because – you know, it doesn't really change from college to the NFL. Changed a little bit. But Justin Fields, especially, you know, the important throws, 10 yards downfield, 15 yards downfield, 20 yards downfield. And he's accurate everywhere else. But I think the most common throws where you want from a good quarterback, you know, sideline throws, the out routes, he is dead accurate on those. And he had some, you know, Indiana, Northwestern, he had some really bad throws, and I think people are using that against him. But what people don't realize, like, those are the throws he misses, and it's rare. Like, he's either hitting these dead on, and he has a few of those bad ones, but it's not like he misses, he hits, he misses, you know. So I think he's pretty accurate. Zach Wilson's got the strongest arm, in my opinion. You know, if you put these guys at a standstill and they got to throw it as far as they can, maybe somebody beats them, but I think Zach Wilson shows it on the field. His ability to, on the run, throw the ball with that much strength and have it be somewhat accurate is mainly why I put him in strongest arm. Very impressive. Best downfield, Trevor Lawrence. Maybe the deep ball in general, maybe Zach Wilson's better. Maybe Justin Fields' deep ball, you know, in terms of the power, looks a little better. Trevor Lawrence has got that touch. You know, he puts it in a perfect spot. It just looks beautiful every single time. Best runners, Trey Lance. Justin Fields might be faster, but Trey Lance is, you know, he's a strong runner, going to take care of the football, going to run people over, can take the beating. He kind of delivers more of the beating, so that's why he's there. Best awareness, Mac Jones, awareness/reactions, ridiculous. He kind of feels that pressure when it's coming and knows when exactly he has to react. So kind of those things together. Most pro ready, I think Trevor Lawrence. It's pretty obvious. I think he could step in, scheme versatile, can make all the NFL throws. Boomer or bust, for me, it's Justin Fields. He either could end up being the best quarterback in this class because he has the traits, the rare mixture of, you know, the athleticism and arm strength, throw on the run ability, all those things. But, you know, there is, you know, slow processor. If that continues, it takes a while to make his reads, go through his reads, progressions. If that continues, he can end up being on the bust side. Most upside to me is Kellen Mond. He has the traits. He has just as much arm power, arm strength as anyone here. He's right there actually with Zach Wilson on throw on the run ability. He has 4.5 speed. He, you know, I think, you know, with the right coaching, he was a top recruit as well. With the right coaching, he could end up looking like one of these top 5 guys, maybe a top 3 guy out of these quarterbacks. That's why I say he has most upside. Sleeper, Jamie Newman. He has fallen down all of our boards, but it's almost like he's forgotten about in a way. You know, he used to be in the conversation with the Davis Mills, Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask. Not anymore for the right reasons, but let's not forget about him completely. Deep sleeper, Appalachian State, Zach Thomas. Really, really good athleticism. He timed better than he actually looks on the field, but still very good athleticism, smart runner, and pretty consistent in terms of a passer. It kind of fits today's NFL. Let's go on to the rankings now. Trevor Lawrence, number 1. Somewhat obvious, even though it's such a rare, good, you know, great quarterback class that they're all pretty close. 6'5", 213, got that guy, has that frame. You see my grade underneath that, elite. Obviously, I don't have to put first round with that, elite grade. Only a handful of elite grades every year, maybe a little more than a handful sometimes, and he got one for me. You know, why you draft him, It's a sure thing prospect. It feels like, the combination of the frame I put in there. He's the prototype quarterback every year, kind of like, Justin Herbert last year kind of looks like the prototype. I think if you're going to build the prototype guy, what you want every quarterback to look like, length, frame, build, everything. I think it's Trevor Lawrence. He might be the definition of that, and he's not even in the NFL yet. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, the combination of that frame, because usually with those guys with the frame, just got bad throwing motion. The mechanics are off. He has the mechanics. He's smart, has the intangibles, has the crazy good athleticism, could even break tackles. I've seen, watching a lot of linebacker tape of some good linebackers in this class that actually played Trevor Lawrence, and they couldn't really get this guy at an angle at times. They struggled with that. So it's a ridiculous combination. Just rare. Absolutely rare. The big thing with him is he can make the throws. He can make the throws, tight window throws, has to have enough velocity on the ball, the out routes, the sideline throws, the back shoulder, the hardest ones to make in football, he makes look easier. Sometimes the layup throws he could do a little better on. There's guys that are better accuracy-wise, but he makes those throws that you can't coach. You either have them or you don't, and everyone's looking for that, and kind of the total package of all those types of throws combined. I think he's pretty scheme versatile. Really, I'm a believer if the quarterback's that good, he is the system, the scheme, and he's that good. Why pass on him? You don't. The Jaguars are really they're going to take him first overall, but he's considered an accurate quarterback, beautiful touch pass, accurate on tough throws, but there's actually guys that have been more accurate. And like I said earlier in the video, completion percentages don't really change, and he's not, in terms of elite prospect, he doesn't really have an elite completion percentage, but it's not too much of a worry. But that's kind of just one small weakness there. My number 2 quarterback, also with an elite grade here, is Zach Wilson from BYU. It's an elite downfield passer. The downfield passers are taking over the NFL. Aaron Rodgers kind of took over a while ago, but he had that, was kind of one of a kind, just consistent downfield. But now it's, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, these guys that were their best trait is they can throw downfield, plus they have athleticism, kind of going along with, a little more of the old school guy like Aaron Rodgers. They all have that in common. Zach Wilson has that in common. So you could say, that's a safe bet at the high ceiling, perhaps. He didn't face a whole lot of pressure, but I thought he did a great job escaping it when he did. He knows when it's coming. He knows where he has to go when it's coming for him. The second it's snapped, he kind of gets an idea, kind of gets a feel for it. So that's fantastic. Really good throwing on the run, buying time, and then throwing on the run. I think best in the class throwing on the run, which is, it's another one of those things you cannot coach that. How are you going to coach a guy throwing on the run? So he's been extremely accurate this year. I think he's a really good, really quick process. That kind of goes along with what I said. As soon as the snap happens, he knows exactly where he has to go, what reads he has to go in, and how to kind of go about it. Maybe why pass on him. This was really the only season playing at a high level. He was kind of on our radar before with a high ceiling, some good play, but he didn't play like an elite prospect, really nowhere near it till now. So that could scare some teams. Could that continue? Inconsistent mechanics. Sometimes he gets a little wild. Even when it ends up being a pretty damn good throw, he gets a little wild. Will throw off his back foot. Kind of wants to go for that hero-looking play, that big-time play, which is kind of a good trait to have in a way. Look at Josh Allen, guys like that. Little experience against good competition. I hate that people say he's not the second best quarterback in the class because he played bad competition. To me, that makes no sense. That's not like a negative part of your game. But I could see teams saying maybe the things he does won't really work against better competition. That kind of makes sense in a way. I'm not really one that's going to hold that against Zach Wilson. I think why he's a wow prospect, why he's so good, these traits that he has, I don't think it gets affected by who he's playing. It's just kind of what he does, the ball placement. There's a lot of things that I don't think good competition would actually stop. Maybe some NFL pressure can slow him down, make him make adjustments. That's kind of everyone though. Somewhat fumbling concerns. Not super major. I think he had 7 fumbles last 2 years combined. You don't really like to see that. It's not in the double digits at least, but I think holding the ball loose, getting the wild mechanics, kind of setting himself up for that big-time play, I do think creates it. If he gets hit from behind while he's kind of loading up, that kind of creates the fumble. So that's something to look out for. there for him. Number three and number four are very, very tight for me. I mean, the whole class is pretty tight. I got Justin Fields at 3. Great. I gave him as a top 10 player. Pretty close to being an elite prospect just because he's kind of a one-of-a-kind guy. You don't really see these types of guys with this athleticism, speed, and the arm talent, really strength as well. He's an elite athlete. We saw the arm strength on display, mainly in the biggest game, at the time, the biggest game of his career against Clemson. Just a ridiculous performance there. But he puts that, the nice spin, velocity on the ball to make those very tough throws. Just a beautiful out route. Kind of dominates 10 yards and above. Very accurate. And that's kind of rare. As well. It's just hard to find a comparison for this guy because he's kind of just a one-of-a-kind guy, and that's what you got to love about him. Wide passing him, slow processor, kind of goes through reading the defense, going through progressions, options, slower than everyone else. That's the big negative for him. Holds on to the ball a little too long. I don't know where the one-read quarterback thing came out. People say that. I don't really see that. I think there's some design plays that just snap and he's going to stare at a guy because that's the design play. We've seen some of those in the NFL. We're going to see more at the college level. But I think with the right scheme, I'm not comparing him as a player really to Justin Herbert, but it could be a similar situation. The Oregon offense was just so simplified. It was like too easy for Justin Herbert, where it made him look like a one-read quarterback at times, even though he wasn't a one-read quarterback. I think it's a similar situation. That I guess risky to say that maybe, but I view him as a similar situation there. So hopefully he lands with the right team, but needs to do everything a bit quicker, and then has fumbled the ball, kind of keeps it loose, fumble a little more often than we talked about Zach Wilson. So I guess that's somewhat of a concern, but you just don't see this guy with this build, with this athleticism, with IQ, arm talent, not just the strength, the accuracy. You just don't see a guy like this every day. But yeah, why he's kind of just missing out on an elite grade is because that the negative is the slow processor, holding the ball too long. It's kind of a big one. And it affected him, quite a bit, and it's something that will it change? It's kind of a big question mark. We're gonna assume and we're gonna predict at this point. Was kind of back and forth all offseason on 3-4 because I do like Trey Lance a lot. He's right there. If a team is deciding between the two, Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I'm okay with going whatever one they feel is a better fit. I'm usually just get the best one. It's the quarterback position. Don't choose the scheme, choose the player, because this guy can make or break your franchise. But in this case, I think you kind of go for the better fit. So I'm okay with that. Just so we're clear when the draft comes around, if somebody takes Trey Lance over Justin Fields, it is nowhere near the end of the world for me. But yeah, Trey Lance, another kind of a rare prospect here, type of quarterback. He takes care of the ball at such a high level. Didn't really throw any interceptions 2 years ago. And when he played that full season, and he doesn't fumble, he can run, take a beating, and still controls that ball. He can win with his arm and his legs. Usually these guys with the ground game. Lamar Jackson is one of the best players in all of football right now, but he still has those moments where you question him as a passer, even though I like Lamar Jackson, obviously. But Trey Lance, you don't really question things too much as a passer. He has the accuracy, the arm strength, the arm talent in general. Combining that with his legs, you just do not see it. You just don't see it. I think he's a safe prospect. There's people talking about boom or bust for Trey Lance. I think he's one of the safer prospects in the draft because I think worst case, we've seen him kind of be a game manager as a passer, just take care of the ball, and he can be that. Plus, on top of that, add his running ability, which is kind of more than just a game manager label. I think he's a safe prospect, so he's safer than Justin Fields. For sure he's safer. Justin Fields, I think, has more of that high end, could end up being the best quarterback in this class. Not that I'm predicting it. So I think Lance is a safe prospect. Limited experience in general, but especially against good competition. I think people talk more so about Zach Wilson playing weaker competition than Trey Lance, which I think is kind of weird. But he's kind of fall. It's not a negative. It's just, do you think, why you might pass on him? Maybe that team thinks he won't be able to handle it for some time against the NFL competition. Who knows? That's really not me. But there's a lot of plays that are kind of just one read and then just run. Like if that first read's not open, he runs. But he can't. He does show us that he can kind of go through the progressions, look, read, scan the field. But there's a lot of play designs like that, so it's kind of hard to judge how he would be in a lot of offenses. I do think he needs probably a specific offense. That's why a lot of us talking about that fit with the Falcons with Arthur Smith's scheme. He needs that type of offense. He's just not for everyone. Kind of goes into that. There was times where he kind of was. He has his crazy wow arm strength, but there was times where he kind of forced himself to be a game manager, which is not the end of the world. It kind of makes him be a safe prospect, but he doesn't take those risks sometimes. You do like more of the risk like those top 3 guys have. So that's something to keep in mind as well. 5's going to be Mac Jones. I gave him a round 1 grade. Beginning of this process, really no one was calling him a first-round pick. I've been calling him a first-round pick since day 1 here. But now it seems like the talk has passed me up. I kind of was the guy being higher on Mac Jones than most people. But the talk has just passed me up completely. We're talking about 3rd overall pick. I'm really not for that, even though I gave him a round 1 grade. Why? Because I think he's a good quarterback. I think he can be a heck of an NFL quarterback. I think he has top-tier awareness. We talked about that with the superlatives in the beginning of the video. The reactions, the awareness are just ridiculous. Fast processor, goes through the reads really quick and just knows exactly where to go. I do think that factors into one of the – it's not really a negative, but it could be a difference from college to the NFL that a lot of times it was easier for him to do that because somebody was just wide the hell open a lot of the time. So teams could – it's not really a negative. Somebody's wide open. It's not a negative to the quarterback. But it's not going to be that way in the NFL. So there could be an adjustment period, I suppose. But he's an accurate quarterback, has great accuracy down the field, underneath, intermediate throws, all that. He was extremely accurate. People forget that. I think he has a beautiful touch pass downfield. Downfield does have some concerns, mainly because the arm power, the arm strength, but he has a great touch pass, the way he lets it go, the way I guess the result looks pretty good for the most part. I think he can run a good mixture of plays. I think he did have some success on RPO, which there's not a lot of NFL teams running that, but it's more and more every single year. Why pass him? Yeah, arm strength. You go back and watch the tape, but I'm watching tape on cornerbacks, whatever, safeties, and they happen to play Alabama, and I noticed more and more of them. The more I watch, he did have quite a bit of underthrows that would have been touchdowns, or sometimes they ended up touchdowns because Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle, when he played, they're just so damn good. So that is a little bit of a concern. It happened more often than you think. He did have some dropped interceptions as well, which in the NFL they're probably caught. You would think, But yeah, a lot of the production came from wide open targets. Again, not really a negative, but this isn't positives and negatives really. It's just why a team may pass him. They may view that it's not going to be the same in the NFL, so he could struggle early on. We're looking for an instant impact, even though, Mac Jones is pretty smart, good awareness. He could be a pro-ready quarterback, obviously, but he comes in at number 5. Then taking a look at the next group of guys here. 6, I got Kellen Mond. I got a 2nd-round grade on him. I'm almost borderline. I like Kellen Mond a lot. I like his upside a lot. He does have things to work on. He's pretty inconsistent in terms of a passer. I think, let me move myself down here a little bit. I think he's got pro experience. I think they kind of restricted him a little bit. Pro-style experience, I should say, in that playbook. But I think they kind of restricted him. When you let him loose, he has that wow potential. He has the athleticism, the arm strength. Looking at a guy like last year, Jordan Love can go in the first round. I wasn't one of those people that had a problem with taking Jordan Love. I think if he can go in the first, why can't Kellen Mond? So I wouldn't be against him going in the first, honestly. Just, inconsistent with his accuracy. Davis Mills is sneaking up boards. Some talk about first round. I like him in the 2nd round. Has some injury concern, 2016, 17, 18 injured. So that's actually kind of rough. And 16 was high school, actually. But really good touch pass, very accurate quarterback. Watch the UCLA game. UCLA game struggled kind of early on. I think he had 3 interceptions at one point pretty early on, and it wasn't too pretty. The 4th quarter of that game, the comeback, ridiculous. Some of his best tape in the game with some of his negatives at the same time. But, the second half, mainly later on in that game against UCLA, it was just a wow game. It was a wow game for him. But kind of reminds me of a Daniel Jones type guy. Daniel Jones is a little more, honestly, Mills is going to take care of the ball a lot better. He actually might be a little more accurate. That's fantastic. Daniel Jones has a little more athleticism to him. Obviously, he can run. Trask, been a guy falling down board, especially for me. Third round for me, so I've really bumped him down. Quarterback 8 was once thought of as a first-round pick. And there's reasons for that. The more and more I watch, the more you realize he's kind of a one-read guy, and that's a little concerning. You kind of take away, in that bowl game, you take away the top the top prospects there, his top targets, and that kind of exposed him a little more because, I think people were realizing he was a one-read guy, and they were trying to jump routes and just trying to catch it over a guy like Kyle Pitts and trying to catch Kadarius Toney, stay with him was one thing, but it was a little easier for a team like Oklahoma to jump routes. So that's a little concerning. He doesn't have the wow playability. If you're going to draft a quarterback, he has to have that wow ability, the ability to be, you're not just drafting a quarterback just to be a starter. You're not drafting one just to be a backup forever. You're drafting one that could be more than just a starter, more than an average quarterback. And I don't know if he has that wow ability. I don't know if he's going to be anything special, and that's kind of tough to draft a guy like that. I'd rather draft a receiver that could actually start, in the second round, things like that. Just an example. He did improve his footwork and mechanics, so that's good. Maybe it shows he has upside to continue to improve things like that. Pretty tough dude, of course. Not extremely mobile. I talk about all the time. Patience is his strength and weakness. He's calm, doesn't let pressure get to his head, doesn't change his throwing motion, his mechanics. When he's under pressure, he stays calm and makes the throw, but sometimes he holds the ball a little too long, and that's bad. Jamie Newman, 4th-round grade. He was recently on Georgia but didn't play. Obviously, he played for Wake Forest. 4th-round grade. A lot to work on there. Not super great under pressure. He's got a good frame build to him, can handle it, could run if he needs to, but pass first. Got a really strong arm. Just got to stay consistent with the accuracy. There's a lot of upside with Jamie Newman. It's just a lot to work on. The Senior Bowl wasn't a good outing. He was getting pressured a ton, but he wasn't handling it too well. And then a big drop-off after that. I got Ian Book, quarterback 10, but drop off to the 6th round. Ian Book is great. Has great pocket presence. Feel pocket. Feeling pressure is, out of this world, really. Eyes in the back of his head. I always talk about Ian Book. He's got eyes in the back of his head, literally, it looks like. Really good escaping pressure. Very, very athletic. Could run. Could buy time. Pretty accurate underneath. On the rollout, but nothing over 10 yards. He wants to be a safe quarterback. He doesn't want to take that risk. He kind of waits till somebody's wide open. Could maybe fix that. Notre Dame was a pretty conservative team offense, so that could be it, but I feel like that a lot goes in the Ian Book there. I think teams that have rough offensive lines, this is a really good backup for you, a second-string guy, and somebody will see that, and probably they may take him in the 5th round even. I got 6th round now. Sam Ehlinger in the 7th. There is things to like about Sam Ehlinger. Seems like a good leader, could run, mainly because of his run strength. Not going to outrun, too many guys at all. Not an anticipation quarterback. It's just, downfield ball is okay. There's nothing that stands out to me. I think, he doesn't really have, I guess the difference between we got him like Ian Book, Ian Book really stands out in terms of the pocket, feeling pressure, things like that. And that's really what separates the 6th and the 7th round guy for me. Felipe Franks has got the size, he's got the arm strength, he's got some athleticism. He's got to put it all together. Just really kind of gets wild sometimes and just not super accurate. Shane Buechele, who's actually a former Texas quarterback. We were once talking about him when he first played. Wow, this is a future stud right here. Seems to be a trend with Texas quarterbacks, but ends up going to SMU, got solid downfield ball, good touch pass, got good arm strength, was somewhat accurate for them. Big playability. I got Brady White at 14. He's got big playability too. He's got some nice moments, throw on the run moments there. Could move if he needs to. Another one that's kind of wild, very inconsistent with his accuracy. And then we got Zach Thomas, Appalachian State. Maybe a deep sleeper here that can end up being something because he's got a good combination of athleticism and I guess arm talent. Just not going to really wow with his arm talent, but pretty athletic, could run, good vision as a quarterback. So that's my top 15. I'll have a spreadsheet come out for everybody. I'll probably tweet it out where it has more than 15 for all these position groups. It has all my rankings with all my round grades on it. That'll come out a little closer to the draft. I release that for everybody to keep handy every single year. And here is what I'm giving to Patreon members. Here's our Patreon. If you sign up for this tier 5 out here, or the tier 10. If you sign up for either, you get that. You get more of their tier 3 is $5, I should say. Tier 4 is $10. But it's you get this whole page, kind of like a draft guide page, and you see there are all these graphics. You actually could save these too. Won't pop up, but you actually can save these graphics for if you want to keep them. And the running backs are actually already on here, so you also get early access. And I'll eventually put scouting reports. If you click on this, there'll be scouting reports with a lot of these guys, and the running backs are underneath that. And I'll add the receiver. So if you sign up, you get all of it early access. So whenever the receiver graphics are done, I'll throw those up there because again, the quarterback, running backs are already up there, and it'll continue to go on. And you can always have this page handy, all on one page. So I think it's pretty useful there. So check it out. Patreon.com/thegoathouse. There'll be a link in the description and comments for that. As always in every video. But that's going to do it. Excited about the rest of these videos. Running backs will be next. And then we got receivers, offensive line in that order. We got you covered here. So hopefully you guys enjoy these. Follow our Twitter. Absolute must follow for NFL draft talk coverage. And subscribe to the channel. We much appreciate it. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.